first, see how much of that we can purchase, and then we'll see how much money we have left. But yeah, at the next school committee meeting, hopefully I'll give you a better...
We'll address the potential transfers
the transfers, to meet the needs. I'll give you the numbers, okay. But the transfers probably we won't do, and that was something I wanted to put at the end. The transfers we usually do at the very end. We know that we have to do them, right. But these will be big transfers, 10,000 from here to there. I would wait till, we close out the books, which would be on the 5th of July, because we end the year at June 30th, so we need a couple of days to just make sure we get all the bills.
So you asked for some direction, you received some input, you don't need any motion on that?
No, I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay with buying the books and doing some of the replacement of this stuff.
Thank you. Is that anything else on the...
That kills both the report on the budget workshop. I will talk to town council or the selectmen about what it would take to do that amendment. Usually they have me go through the moderator, prepare some kind of a form statement. We would like to take X amount out of friendly amendment. It's our warrant, so article. So at that point, we should be able to just reduce it by X amount.
People will be very happy on town floor to hear that we've gone from 222 to 150. And be a little
that
bit
will
more.
be a relative term in my estimation, because they still are having issues.
I don't know which way the wind.
But we'll see what we can do.
Revolving accounts are pretty much...
The revolvers are pretty much where they were. The sports accounts, we're getting close to having all the numbers in. We do have to see whether we go into the finals or the championships. That could throw it off. We may be a little short on the athletics and activities, mostly the athletics. The middle school always was supposed to be subsidized from us. We may need a couple extra $1,000 to put in there, but as part of this, figuring out how much money we have to the end of the year, we should be able to, where it used to be 100,000 or so that we were subsidizing, maybe 102. The other ones are still there. Okay. I don't see any of them. No, there's none of them that I would be worried about. The transportation, just so you know, we will try to go back out to a 3-year bid. We had an issue with the way the bids were written. We thought the companies out there had the capacity to do figuring out new bus routes. Found out that they really needed a long lead time. So we went back and we're going to put out a contract. You'll see it coming out in the next week or so. We're still having to tweak the language, send it back to the lawyers. It'll be the 17 routes that we now have with contract language that if we can figure a way to reduce the number of routes, they would have to adjust the contract price.
So we're still going to stay at the 3-year, not to do the 1 year?
It'll end up being the 3-year with the language in there. Just so you know, we also are putting out a clause that would allow us to share in the pain of fuel increases if there is any. But we are writing it in such a way that we would be able to budget it for the following fiscal year, so that we don't get a surprise in the middle of a year that we already budgeted and can't fix. So I think if we get some good competition, we may get some savings. We may end up having to buy the software to do the routing ourselves, so we can actually have control over how many routes we need, rather than living that up to the contractor. We want to bring it in-house.
Would that be something that you would want to spend? Because I know in your email it says about $10,000. If we do realize more out of the savings from this year, is that something that you might want to buy?
We could, rather than take it out of the revolving and let the revolving maintain the money that it's in there. We could do that.
It's going to save us money in the long run and get a good contract. I mean, we'll realize more savings if we have less bus routes.
We've talked to a couple of companies, and the only problem is it does take a while to get all the information. Usually it's harder the first time, which this would be. You know, it'll take us a few months to get all the kids in there, all the routes, you know, the parameters, what times do they have to be dropped off, what time, and then run the different permutations to see if we can reduce routes. If in a couple of years, you know, they build a big development, we've got 26 other kids and they have to be transported, at least we'll have the software to be able to say, hey, we need another route. Where's it going to go and how much is it going to cost? How much distance? Right now, some of that is kind of like, yeah, we think we can do it. And it's more trial and error. This way we'll have control, we'll have something concrete that we can say, here it is. Here's how many miles, here's the times, here's when you should pick up, here's when you should drop off.
I think in the long run it saves money because you're not wasting man hours of sitting at a table for 3 weeks trying to figure out
Trying
bus
to do it
routes.
on a map? No.
And then driving the routes and saying, oh, this doesn't work.
No.
So I think in the long run it might be worth a $10,000 expenditure.
So if I'm to understand, the contract that went out for bid was canceled.
We pulled it back, yes.
So bids weren't received for Monday's date. The new contract will still be 3 years with a new provision that if we, under our expense, reduce the number of routes, there's going to be a refund clause, if you will, or a...
To us,
to
or
us.
a reduction in the amount that we pay on a monthly basis.
On the fuel for the next year or whatever it might be, yeah.
So there's a per bus charge that we're asking for, so if
Per
we end up-
bus, per mile, per day. So that if we can figure this out, say by December of next year, we get the program up and running, then we can say, you know, beginning January 1st, these are the different routes, and, you know, we got X number of days, I don't know, 97, 98 days left, you know, here's the reduction in our contract. So my hope is that either way, if we buy it now or we buy it in the next fiscal year, whatever that reduction may be, if we can make a reduction, would cover the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then we at least have the capacity to adjust routes up or down, no matter what happens. More kids, less kids. More routes, less routes.
And with the clock ticking, and whoever wins the contract has to have transportation ready at the end of August, the bid's going to be prepared and ready.
We will let them, the people who expressed an interest, obviously it's got to go on the Goods and Services website for the state. However, the people who expressed an interest, we will let them know ahead of time, hey, we're going to put them back out, be on the lookout, here's when it's going to be published, you know.
Okay. So it's going to be within the next 2 weeks that it'll be on that website?
I wish Michelle was here.
And we will schedule an additional pre-bid conference?
Yes.
Because the contract is new?
I'm trying to remember the actual numbers. I believe it'll go out the week of town meeting, and the pre-bid will be the last week in May, maybe the first week in June, and then, you know, a week after that, it'll be ready to go. So they'll have it before
Hopefully there's no customer, the buses might not have lettering by the end of August. I don't know how long it takes to go out and pick up new buses if the winning bid has to replace the
I
fleet.
think that if we let the contractors know that we're expressed an interest, that we're going to put them back out, that we're going to use the 17 routes that we currently have, I think they can turn around rather quickly and make their own preparations.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So, because, like I said, they expressed an interest before, and we didn't have the
How
specific
many people do we
routes.
have express interest? 4?
4.
That's good competition.
Thank you for that update. Competition is good, and I think the 3-year enables them to still have interest. Moving along, we have a report on the budget workshop.
Well, basically, it was, you know, we wanted it to be out in the big meeting that we were seeing